English translation 547th contact. Friday, the 23rd of November 2012, 21:56 hours.
Hello, Ptah. Looks like I came at the correct time. I am glad that you are back safe and sound. You are most welcome, dear friend.
I have also just arrived and was about to call you when I heard you open the door. Greetings also to you, dear friend.
You, Florina and Njana, you have been away for nearly 3 months. Are you all back now, or have the two girls not come back yet?
The two are also back. Zawadin told me that he was with you. He also put questions to me which I had to answer for you.
Yes, the surprise is complete. Thanks. In your absence, a lot of questions have accumulated which I would like to bring up. The first question is whether everything has been satisfactory where you have been. I am not interested in what you have done, only in whether everything has turned out in the correct way.
Everything has turned out in a good way. But to what do your questions refer?
These relate to various things. Firstly, I would like to ask you once again for some knowledge about depression, which we have often talked about in private. I also learned about it from your father Svath in my youth, as well as from Nokodemion's memory bank. The reason for this question is that I received a fax complaining and pointing out that the writer suffers from depressive states, so he came to me for advice. So I thought that, according to the explanations I received from Svath and from you, and according to the Nokodemian records, I might one day write a book on depression. Of course, it is not a medical psychiatric book, but simply a guide to how at least those depressions can be counteracted through self-help, and how they can be brought to resolution where this is possible. And since the mental-emotional world plays a profound role in all forms of depression, and since good control and a healthy, positive, and correct way of dealing with it are, so to speak, the ultimate, I thought I would write a book on this subject. So I got stuck into it and have already written about 30 pages that I would like to give you to read, but also how I would be interested to get some more introductions from you that I could add to what I have written so far. Look here, I have already printed out these pages, and if you want to read them or at least skim through them, then please.
This interests me, so I will look through them right away.
Then please, here. In the meantime, I am looking for something from an old contact report, which I have to ask something about, because I was asked a question from the USA.
Ta is engrossed in reading while I am busy at the computer, and also find what I'm looking for and read through it.
May I disturb you, Ptah?
I think what you have written here is good, but I would like to have a little more time to read it.
No problem. Then I will go over to the kitchen for a quarter of an hour to have a coffee. Can I also bring you something?
Thanks, but I'm satiated and not thirsty either. Then I will read on and then wait for you.
Done, my friend. See you.
After 15 minutes back from the kitchen,
Here I am again.
The time was too short, but if you allow me, I will take what I wrote with me and read it in peace. Everything up to now is well described, and I'm interested to know which thoughts you continue to write down. So I will come back several times and teach you, but you should not write down any contact reports. You have a good memory of everything my father and I explained to you, which is astonishing after your serious health breakdown in 1982, when you suffered a partial amnesia and had to reappraise many memories and facts, etc. Apparently you have achieved even more in this respect than I know.
A little bit. Yes, but with a few exceptions. They are mainly mission-related facts, while I have not taken my personal experiences and the events and situations in my life into account, so I miss a lot of them. Sometimes, however, such things suddenly come to mind during conversations without me actually looking for them. Perhaps some memories will come back to me when it comes to recording the biography. But look here, I copied this from the 251st contact of Friday, the 3rd of February 1995, 001 HRS. Nice to see you again, my friend. Welcome to my den.
I'm also glad to welcome you again, Edward, my friend, and I am to give you all my best wishes and greetings, especially from all those you know personally, but also from unknown sides.
Thanks. I hope that I will continue to hear from them all here and there, of course also from you. The year 1995 is now upon us, and with it the time of completion of your tasks here on Earth.
That is correct, but it does not mean that we would end our contacts with you, for they are to continue, albeit much more sparsely, as it may often take many months or even a year or two before any of us can visit you again.
I would miss you all very much, especially you, who were practically the only one to visit me over the last few years. But tell me now, at what point in time will you finally withdraw all your people and materials from our planet?
We have already done that, and nothing on Earth indicates our previous existence anymore, if I disregard the materials that are in your possession. The last of our people left Earth about half an hour ago. Our stations also no longer exist, and the original state has been restored, so no traces can be found either.
You had to do that, of course. But Svath as well as Asket, Simyase and Quetzal also told me at that time that you had to do that when the time came with the year 1995. You also told me the same thing, but you all obliged me to keep silent about it until the time when you would leave the Earth for good. The reason for your departure is known to me, but I do not know if I am allowed to speak officially about it, because you told me that it must remain a secret, at least for the time being, at least until 1995, when you would leave Earth.
This secret must continue to be kept, so under no circumstances should you talk about it. We may only explain about it to the extent that our departure from Earth is connected with the coming time and the events connected with it, in which we must not interfere in any way, and through which we must also protect and preserve the secret of our culture and habitats. This is also connected with the fact that for years things have been happening which were foreseen on the one hand, and which on the other hand are also a reason for our withdrawal, whereby the connection of these things which have been happening on Earth for several decades was one of our areas of responsibility. We have also fulfilled this task, as well as all the others that were incumbent upon us, and you too have played a very important role in making the so-called UFO phenomenon, as Earth humans call it, known throughout the world.
Now, if you can say something about this, because a lot has happened and changed since then.
Yes, today I can say something about it, which also relieves you of your duty of secrecy. Things have changed fundamentally since then, and the danger that existed for us at that time in terms of keeping our secrets and the danger to our culture and habitats has been averted. However, in 1995, when we dissolved our stations on Earth, the danger still existed. According to our calculations of probability, from that time on there was the impending possibility that we player peoples could have been drawn into a war. As we explained to you at that time, to which we obliged you to remain silent, an attack on Earth could have taken place, namely by a large armada of space planes of a planet-wide dictatorially led and warlike multi-ethnic state from the same space-time structure from which we Plejaren also come. These peoples, who did not belong to the Plejaren Federation, were very warlike and conquest-addicted in nature, similar to Earth humans. They had been constantly fighting with their own races for more than 1,700 years, and at that time they were about to penetrate the space-time structure of the Dern universe through their space technology, on the same path that also gives us the possibility to enter this dimension, where the Milky Way galaxy and therefore also the Sol system and Earth are located. With us, the Plejaren, these peoples maintained constant and contentious contacts, and often warlike actions were also threatened, because the dictatorial powers of the planetary multi-ethnic state called Hardem were constantly trying to invade and conquer the Plejaren worlds. As a result, we had to be on constant defensive alert to these peoples, while also keeping our secrets, which were related to many things of our technology and which we had to protect, in order to protect ourselves against these ever-present aggressors. But through infamous machinations, they managed to get hold of the technology regarding the possibility of breaking through into other space-time structures, so they learned to master them in the course of time, and also gained knowledge regarding the Dern space-time structure and the Milky Way, as well as the Sol system and the Earth. Then, however, about 95 Earth years ago, a completely different form of government was introduced and other rulers came to power, more peace-loving but still subject to the urge for war and conquest, but to a somewhat lesser extent than the dictatorial rulers. Consequently, they tried to join our Plejaren Federation, but they were denied the possibility of being admitted. With the possibility of being admitted if they would give up all their warlike conduct and make peace in every respect, which they were not prepared to do. In 1918, through some unpleasant events, they learned of our efforts in the SOL system and on Earth, in terms of Earth years, so that from then on they tried to come into this space-time continuum, and to Earth, which we always managed to prevent. Then, however, from the terrestrial year 1977 on, new technical possibilities arose for the Hardem, which again increased the danger that they could attack Plejaren areas and also advance into the SOL system to Earth. According to our probability calculations, this could have been the case from 1995 on, which is why we Plejaren were advised to stay away from Earth at that time, in order to avoid getting involved in warlike actions with earthly military armies and the Hardem, because our directives prohibit such actions on foreign worlds. So if the Hardem had attacked, we should not have done anything about it. This is also because otherwise there would have been serious conflicts with our Plejaren Federation in the form of a very vicious war with the Hardem on their homeworld. So the only option was to withdraw from Earth, but we tried, as we had done for many decades, to negotiate with the Hardem and to dissuade them from their craft of war. In the end, it became generally accepted on Hardem that a large group of people had an objective interest in the matter, and that this led to a planet-wide overthrow of power, by which all dictatorial rulers, who had all united to form a common world dictatorship, were driven out and executed by armies accustomed to war and violence. In 1996, the whole thing actually led to the new rulers coming to their senses and taking care not to allow any more power-hungry people to emulate any kind of war, and also to dissuade their peoples from the art of war. Through us and our allies in the Federation, we have been advising the Hardem ever since, so that the war-loving peoples could also be pacified. Through our and our Federation's efforts and the manifold assistance provided, the peoples have been taught how to live peacefully and will also continue to do so. This has been going on since 1996, and fortunately, the Hardem are making a very serious effort to grow into a completely new way of life, which in just 16 years has led to the Hardem being incorporated into our Plejaren Federation protection and thus becoming a candidate for our Plejaren Federation. It was only in this way that we were able to interfere in the foreign things, and that it was also possible to stop the Hardem from breaking through into your space-time structure and wreaking havoc on Earth. If this possibility would not have arisen for us, then it would have been possible for the warlike multi-ethnic state Hardem that an attack on Earth could have taken place. According to our probability calculations, this would have been conquered because Earth humans would not have had anything to oppose the war technology and all weapon possibilities of the Hardem. All this should not have been mentioned in contact reports back in 1995, etc., because the spreading of these reports would have caused a tremendous panic among Earth humans in many places.
You told me back then that you were negotiating with these Hardem, but that everything was on the knife edge. But your efforts have been successful, and that is important. The whole thing was very worrying at the time, but I always thought that maybe you could settle everything, which, according to you, was also the case. Although I was sometimes surprised that nothing threatening happened on Earth, and that you also said nothing more about it after you had given up and cleared away all your earthly stations, I always thought that you would surely have a reason for your silence. I was also surprised that your contacts with me continued in the same frequent way. But now everything is clear to me, and I think I understand that you only wanted to inform me about everything when everything was really going well. Or am I wrong?
Your assumption is correct. Although the Hardem do not yet belong to the Plejaren Federation, they are under its protection, which ensures that they are no longer a threat. Next year I would have given you the necessary explanations, but now that you have come to speak on the matter yourself, my explanations today are of no consequence.
I also understood that. Thanks for your explanations. But what interests me is this. You always speak of the Hardem in a way that is also true of you, Plejaren. You call yourselves Plejaren, and your homeworld's also Plejaren. Is it the same with the Hardem, if they do not call themselves Hardemer or similar, but as Hardem, equally also their world?
That is indeed the case.
Then that is also settled. Then a biblical question, which refers to the legendary story of Moses respectively about the flight of the ancient Hebrews from Egypt, whereby they are said to have been led by God Jehovah through the desert, by day through a pillar of smoke and by night through a pillar of fire, which are said to have preceded them. Your father Svath has already told me that this story of the sign of God is a lie, because in truth, the whole escape with the pillar of smoke and fire did not take place in Sinai at a mountain Sinai respectively, Mount Moses, because Moses and the refugees got lost and drifted far south, following the smoke and fire of a volcano in the area of today's Saudi Arabia.
That is correct, because the column of smoke and fire was the result of a volcanic eruption that emitted clouds of smoke and fire, which was not in Sinai but much further south in what is now Saudi Arabia. So what is described in the Bible in relation to the appearance of the column of smoke and fire, which is said to have moved before the refugees, does not refer to the Sinai, but to the Halal Bedr volcano, which has been dormant since the Middle Ages in the area of Midian, which today corresponds to the province of Medina in the northwest of Saudi Arabia.
Moses first led the fleeing slaves along the Mediterranean coast to what is now Gaza, but then he turned inland and got lost. According to Svath, Moses led the refugees to what is now the Gulf of Aqaba, and then further south to the Red Sea, then back inland.
What my father told you corresponds to what was real. From the territory of present-day Gaza, Moses, because he was unfamiliar with the place and did not know the land, led the slave people astray down to the north end of the Gulf of Aqaba, then much further south to the then territory of Midian, and to the volcanic mountain Halal al-Bedr, which was very active at the time. It was only then that Moses realized that he had lost his way with the refugees, so he sought a new way with the slaves, orienting himself to the stars by means of a foreign astronomer and moving northwards. Then, after a long time, reaching the Dead Sea, and from there back to the Mediterranean Sea and the interior of what would later become Palestine and Israel, first to celebrate friendly feasts with the natives, and then, when they were drunk, to murder them and make their land his own.
This story is familiar to me. But I have another question about the discovery of the North Pole. There were two Americans, Robert Edwin Peary and Frederick Albert Cook, who first went on some expeditions, etc. together, but then became enemies, especially when it came to first entering the North Pole. Both started their own expeditions in this regard, after which each declared that he had reached his goal. However, this could never be proven to either of them in any way, and therefore could not be proven by corresponding facts. Cook claimed to have been on the pole before Peary, which led to him being severely defamed by the selfish Peary and made impossible for the rest of the world. To this day, however, to my knowledge, there is no proof as to which of the two was first on the North Pole. Do you know anything about this?
In this respect, I can actually tell you a few things, because from our side there has always been an interest in such undertakings, as there still is today. Consequently, such undertakings were and are observed by us, which is why I can tell you that neither of them had ever reached the North Pole, neither Peary nor Cook. The really first Earth human who set foot on the North Pole for the first time was a man named Walter William Herbert, an Englishman. He was the first to reach the pole on the 6th of April, 1969, but was also followed by his expedition companions.
So the USA cannot claim the first North Pole entry for itself, although they have claimed this for themselves so far.
That is indeed the case. But now, dear friend, I would like to bring up a few things about postnatal depression. After that, I want to leave, but I will come back here for the next 2 days and explain more things to you. Then listen to what I have to say.